All right, here we are. It's time for tunnel meeting number 150. Great number there. It's June 10th, 2025, and today we are being joined by a small but appreciated audience of Barnabas, Guillermo, Kevin, Zurk, and Vanessa. We do start off with a couple of mentions, and then we have a little section on the consent process by Vanessa, and we'll go over the consent form and how it all works. And if there's any time after that remaining, there's space for open topics. And let me put a quick reminder on what the ambassador program even is and what we're doing. Basically, we're a group of like-minded people that are all quite in tune with the mission and vision of Singularity and its ecosystem, working towards beneficial AGI. And yeah, we try to contribute to this by having a wide range of self-organized work groups. So if you are looking to help out, we do have a work group that suits your needs. Do hop onto our Discord server. It has a how to join section, which will tell you how to join. Then a couple of mentions. First one being tomorrow is the monthly NewNet community all hands, and that's at 14 UTC at X. And then Guillermo shared a video on the governance dashboard on the, I believe, Ambassador General channel. Guillermo, if you wouldn't mind putting some words to that.
Yeah, no problem. Pete, hey, everyone. So update on the dashboard. Yeah, we have a lot. It have been 2 weeks from now when the recording of the video that Peter is talking about, we share on the in our Discord channel and in our Mattermost for the community to stay updated on the development. And we have been working on. Since then, we have went through our everyday governance challenges. So it have been also been 2 weeks of a lot of inputs that we will try to insert in the tool and apply into different aspects of the complexity of building something when something that needs to be adaptable and scalable for different kinds of decision. And this is something that we also discussed with a main ecosystem governance expertise from the Singularity Net. And we were discussing some minutes ago about that. And then also we share with them what we have been discussing on governance meetings about how important it is education and the governance process and decision making. So how we are gonna be using this tool or framework to do that when you have this specific decision making on one specific thing. The main thing is knowledge to pick the right thing, I guess. So that will be the objective of I guess making the effort of building something complex at the beginning that then we can scale. They were also interested in the reputation thing because as Tivo mentioned to us today in governance, this place is pretty unique in terms of that. So all this experiment now is going to have a place to live and breathe and keep trying things. Basically also we have validated the architecture again. As the video show, we have roles for admin and then for core contributors. So that give us a profile user. So we start with Discord, and then you're going to be able to create your profile, and that profile will receive outputs from your engagement, your decision making. So you have your own dashboard in governance. So, and that will build upon reputations, and then we can analyze, as Peter was saying, the timeline of a decision. You know that. Remember we talked about this a couple of days ago. I don't know, on Telegram or something like that. And that will be a solid reputation system for our governance. Keep it simple, and don't even tokenize it. It is what it is, Don't even put a name on nothing. But it's and also we have been having the discussion on how critical treasury is, and a lot of treasury information is going to come out of this. Also, and then also have to quantify abstentions, and because it's the one that is kind of different, is the red hair on the thing of decisions, why abstaining, and there's a lot of information in that for what I've been reading or trying to teach myself about this consent thingy. And what else? Yeah, so yeah, and also so we are aiming to build this solid thing simple at the beginning with the resources we have, but with the long-term goal is ASI integration. So the core contributor agent that you guys bought in the last iteration of the R&D is going to interact with this. That's why React and Next and a complex database on Postgre. It's the way to go. And then yeah, so team, so Singularity Net team. So Esther is the leading governance. So she's the guide on our ecosystem on that. So they have a lot of information that we can input and learn from. So then later, if we scale this to the ecosystem, they're going to be able to use it and to create or adapt the tool for whatever decision they have throughout the ecosystem. And yeah, and for that, it's very important to have everybody on the same page, and because you can feed from that. As I'm been feeding from you guys, Peter, Vani, Thibaut especially, and Felix from the beginning. And I wasn't a consent specialist 2 years ago, definitely. I'm still not now. I don't even know what it means. I don't know what would be the literal translation in Spanish, to be honest. Consenso, but the thing kind of is going to work, okay? We're going to hit our fingers to make it go through yeah, the thing and deploy it. So yeah, so yeah, that will be the update, and the objective will be to have it ready for, I don't know what will be the day, but in 2 months. So yeah, we're gonna be bothering you for some testing or debugging previous that because we need it. So yeah, cross your fingers and let's see where if luck can help. That would be the right way to say it. But hey, see you guys with later. If there's any update, we will be sharing our channels and later on here on Town Hall. And if there is any question, please shoot.
Awesome. Yeah. From my side, not so much a question directly, but also you made me think. Last week, at some point, we were also actively being reached out from Foundation side internally for supplying information to feed into reputation systems that are being built on the Foundation side as well. So yeah, I basically simply shared all the data we have available through the Treasury dashboard. Basically, yeah, that's why we captured everything on chain over the past years, right? So it can be fed into stuff. For now, that doesn't have the most concrete follow-up yet, but that should be changing shortly. Same goes there, of course. Yeah, we'll keep you posted and try to involve, in this case, I feel specifically the governance work group as much as possible. Vanessa?
Oh, I don't know if my connection will hold up. Can you hear me? Oh dear. Yeah, you can. All right. Yeah, I was just thinking about an idea that's been discussed around the place a little bit about the reputation of a project or a work group or a guild rather than an individual. I think this could be something that would be worth exploring. If you're part of a work group that is doing good work, that should enhance your reputation maybe in some way. And I think maybe it's not just about individuals, it's about how people collaborate and how they work together. I'd like to see these elements incorporated into a reputation system. Otherwise, they are in danger of becoming a bit dog eat dog sometimes. And obviously, we don't like that.
No, very fair. I mean, it's such a complex topic. I always take the very simplistic approach of like at least capture everything, and then you know, if you fail to capture stuff later, you can't edit. So if you at least capture it, then um, well,
Yeah,
move the
I guess
puzzle.
I'm just suggesting like in the chat that maybe the decision tracking that the archives dashboard does could be something that you might incorporate at some point because it allows you to track whether a work group is making decisions or whether they're just talking. And also, do those decisions just affect them or do they affect everybody? Are they consulting people when they make decisions that affect everybody? And so on. So you've got that data as well as the treasury data.
Yeah, absolutely. Writing that down for a second.
Yeah, somebody write that down, okay? So yeah, definitely, Bunny, I'm sorry
In
to
the
jump
chat.
in, but it's that's the whole thing. Yeah, the main thing of what we have been doing is really cool to have the information because whenever we have a framework or make the decision where to take it, the information is there, data set is there. So, well, now that we have the ASCII one, we can try some of the ideas of starting to fit our LLM about teach about ourselves and about interactions. And this kind of tooling we are building, we will be gathering the data while we govern.
yeah,
So it will create in situ. It will create, and also the other thing that you guys mentioned that it sparked something is that it's going to be our governance tool. So governance, whatever decision we think is needed in our governance meeting, it will be more than an emoji on Discord now. We're going to have like a discussion square, you know. So it will be interesting to see the next iteration. That really now is more than just an objective. When we have that and we have the first iteration, we're gonna make some jokes. We're gonna leave some space for memes on the thing, probably.
yeah, fair. It also makes me think of Quello, which we didn't publish too much about, but this is basically insert data, get knowledge graph, and then interact with the knowledge graph. And for sure, archives is going to be insanely valuable there as well. And I can also see that tying into extracting reputation. But at the same time, yeah, the whole thing with reputation, the way I personally see it, at least, I'm not a data scientist, but I always feel like whenever there's a certain need for reputation, it feels to me like at that point the parameters get set up. So it would be very modular. Like not everybody's request needing reputation would need the same kind of input. And yeah, well, I think we're building quite nicely on at least providing a lot of variety in potential sources. I'm just reading up a little bit on chat. Yeah, exactly, Vanessa, on the work on knowledge graphing, that's really valuable there. But we so need a way to capture who talks and contributes in meetings and in chat as well. Yeah, fair. Well, there's also the Zoom integration by is that Process Guild? Treasury automation? Question mark, and makes me even doubt which specific.
Yeah, but I think it only integrates who's present. I don't think it captures like talk percentages, and it certainly doesn't capture anything about who is saying stuff in the chat. So
No.
yeah, and maybe it can do. Maybe that's something that can look at.
Well, so First of all, Zoom just captures all the chats. So it's a bit in a yeah, it's not neatly done. Like Read AI doesn't capture chat. Zoom does capture chat. Read AI does have the talking percentages. Zoom doesn't.
But then also just capturing the chat, there could be privacy issues there just because in general, people see what's said in the chat as ephemeral. It's not necessarily something that they think of as being saved and being watched. So I don't know, I think it could skew things if we weren't careful. But if we could just capture who posted, that might be a bit better. I don't know.
Yeah, fair. Well, right now we're not publishing any of the chats. So that's on the yeah, security side of things, let's say. Well, there's we can capture more there. That's for sure. In a way, yeah, the chat is out there, so might as well. And I would fully agree with like at least making people aware that if we capture the chat, that the participants are aware of this being a thing. All right. Let's see. I think it might be time to move on. Just a quick check in the room. Any further thoughts or comments on this topic?
Just really quickly, I don't know if anybody else has been thinking like this, but I often see reputation systems as too static, and they often result in people doing things in order to build up their reputation. I'd love a system that was really fluid, and it was like, if you rock up in a meeting and you say something that resonates with people, your reputation can go through the roof for 3 days, and then it goes back again, and it's just a little bit more mobile. I don't know.
Yeah, fair. That completely depends on what weight you put where in the system. It would make sense to me to yeah, considering how long ago something is. Like if you did something nice a year ago, you should, over time the reputation you have for that should
Yeah.
probably surely win.
Oh, obviously, yeah, reputation should like decline over time, but I honestly think there are some things that some people have done that probably should secure their reputation pretty solidly for a long time. I don't know. Yeah, obviously it is about weight, but I also think maybe people get too bogged down in, oh, what's my reputation and what power does it give me? I mean, some of the knowledge graph stuff that we've been doing in archives, it almost feels like what it's doing is tracking influence, which is just fascinating because it really changes from week to week. And then there's like another layer underneath the people who are really consistent and who bother to come up with thinking. Their reputation seems quite solid. So I don't know. I'm interested in how influence shifts and changes. And I think sometimes locking reputation to things like voting power can be problematic because then people do things in order to get power. And you can't see what is genuinely happening when people are influential because they say interesting stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think if you lock it too much to power, it's problematic. And I'd love to see us looking at reputation in a slightly different way.
I quite agree with that. I have to say the alternatives of like, yeah, if you don't use it for, well, I mean, a voting weight would be something that kind of feels natural to me. And of course, the size of that weight, yeah, you can play with that. It can be very small, so that's you don't outvote 10 other people, or maybe not even one, regardless of how active and how influential you are. But that's a numbers game, I guess. I don't know, but in a way, the voting power in itself feels already quite a bit better than monetizing. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, it just feels like something that would be quite interesting to talk up about as a community. Maybe it's something we should schedule a governance session for, just to throw some ideas around. I don't know.
That would be cool. Yeah, absolutely. I would be all for that.
Yeah, Vani, I love the topic, and when we put this thing together for the Nexus and thinking on how integrating an agent in governance, this come after reading that chapter from Ben's book, and he goes through the whole thing on so it's decision making, not governance. But when you put a clear governance decision in terms of the context, okay, social sustainable development. So you build a context into that. There's a you focus the purpose, okay. So, and that was the thing that we really wanted to try with that. We're going to do it here either way, but with this thing. But the thing is that that's exactly what you were saying. People will do this and that. So how you measure that without the human aspect? So it will be more of making a decision through a sentiment, rational, and results. Let's say KPI or metrics are an output. So you will, and if when you get involved, a rational without interest, bonds, connection, share dreams, bets, or whatever, it comes that kind of rational layer that AIs can here to offer to us, without ideology, without ethnicity, or whatever, it's just plain bold thing about us being sustainable and not just saying recycling plastic. Okay, sustainable is a kind of big thing on. That's kind of one of the utopian things that we're kind of working on the ecosystem. At least is really a big part of the vision and mission. I think that this thing really can help on that, but because I do see the same problem. We went through it. That's why also it was difficult to decide what we do with this information you guys been gathering. What we do with this reputation is just participating on meetings. So we start with an idea, we are building now on top of that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how it develops, definitely.
Yeah, fully agree. All right. I mean, the next two mentions and also the next agenda item is kind of on the same. It's also in the consent process, so I don't feel too bad for shifting there for a bit. Also noting we have 13 minutes remaining on the slot due to starting a bit late. Well, this upcoming mention is relatively straightforward. Basically, all Q3 budget requests are in from the work groups. The form for consent might be going live tonight, but at the latest tomorrow. And once it goes live, I'll tag all the core contributors. And at the same time, that's a nice little bridge to the next one. Because, yeah, right now it's open for anyone to nominate core contributors. You can see the list on the governance channel. That makes me think maybe it's actually on the Ambassador General channel, but one of those for sure. So do check it, and yeah, make sure if you don't see yourself or you're missing on somebody of which you feel, well, that person clearly needs to be a core contributor, you can react on that message on the Discord channel. And Vanessa, thanks for sharing the link to the sheet. And yeah, that's the mentions, and then the next one, the main agenda item for today, outside of this nice discussion on reputation, which it's kind of connected to governance anyway. It's a bit of a deep dive on the consent process, kind of explaining what it even is and what everything means. And let's see. Vanessa, if you wouldn't mind talking us through, I think a decent place for starting would be the consent form, but maybe not. Quite open.
Yeah, Yeah, that would be good if you could share that. Um, I'll say as much as my internet connection will allow.
It's been behaving quite well, actually. Better than before. That should be showing the consent form now.
Okay. Yeah, so the introductory bit gives you a lot of the information that you need. There's that link there to the list of core contributors that I just dropped. A little note to remind you that it's not anonymous, and then a kind of step by step, here's how it works. So we could actually go through the form rather than going through it in the text. But basically, the thing that people have fallen foul of in the past is that you do have to submit a new form for each work group. So, do you want to zoom out a little bit, Peter, and then just actually do the form and we can show people? Yeah, so first of all, obviously, it's collecting your email address. And this is something that's a little bit clunky, but we did agree to put it in. The consent process is not anonymous, so we're asking people, are you fine with this? Are you not completely comfortable, or are you like so not comfortable that you're not going to take any further part in? Oh God, I spotted that typo. If this is your answer, rush, we need to. If you choose that one, it takes you just to the end, and that's all you have to do. But the problem we've got doing it, honestly. So if you tick the first one or the second one, it will take you into the consent process. So you've got a drop down of the work groups and you just pick one. I think it's often easiest to do them just in alphabetical order. So Peter's being radical and going for gamers in the middle. And then you just you just select whether you consent, object, or abstain. Consent means you think this is safe to try. You don't have to think it's perfect. Oh, but I should say, before you do anything, you should be reading their report and budget. And there's a link at the top of the consent form to the budget planner where you can do that, the sort of introductory bit. So open that up before you start, have a read, and decide whether you consent, object, or what.
Sorry, I was gonna show the sheet, but at the same time, yeah, it's a sheet. People will find it.
It's a sheet, yeah. I mean, yeah, we know what it looks like, but yeah, it's just kind of trying to emphasize that you shouldn't be consenting or objecting if you haven't read it. Don't make assumptions about like a work group that you think have an opinion about from the past. All right, so if you tick consent, this is saying, yeah, I think it's safe to try. It might not be perfect. And then if you go next, that just takes you to the end of the process. Because that's all you need to do. You can select to have a copy sent to you of your responses, and you just submit it, and that's done. If you want to go back, Peter, before submitting it, we can show people what happens if they choose object. So, first of all, the point of objecting is that you need to give a reason. You need to say why. You can pick more than one if you want, and you can also select other and give another reason if your reason isn't on there. Now, once you've selected that reason, you need to say what harm it's going to cause. So which one did you select, Peter? Just go up a bit. Okay, so you've selected it's not clear what the work group aims to do. So you've got to say what's the problem with that if the stuff in the budget isn't well explained, you know? Because sometimes people might just not write very clearly, but it's not the end of the world. So we want to know what harm this is going to cause. If it's not obvious, you also need to give specifics about what it is they haven't explained, you know? And there's a character limit of 1,000 characters, so you can't write reams. You just need to keep it quite concise and say, what you're talking about, basically. And then we finish off with what needs to change and try to be specific here. Like they need to explain item blah 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 in more detail and say what kind of more detail they need to give, maybe. All of those are compulsory. It's not really a valid objection if you can't say what harm it will do and if you can't say what will need to change in order to get your consent. Bear in mind that if you're feeling really hardline, you could say, well, there's nothing that they could do that would get my consent. It's just completely messed up. So you could say that if you wanted to. And then that should take you to the end of the process. So I think you'll have to put like a something. Yeah. Yeah. So there we are. And if you go back again, and we'll show people what happens if they abstain. Oh, and back again.
Yeah, just for clarity, if I may, people would need to. I'm just going forward again. To actually submit,
Yes. It would.
and
Yeah,
then you can say like, well, there's more work groups. I want to put another one,
absolutely.
and then you would pick another one.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so let's say you abstain on this one. We've had a bit of conversation in governance work group about what exactly this means. So we've got a drop down of the reasons that we think people abstain, and there's also the option of other if you've got another reason. So it's stuff like you haven't had time to read the budget, you didn't understand it, you don't want to give an opinion of it, or what we think is happening for some of them strongly enough to want to actually hold up the process. So it will be useful to get some information about why abstainers are abstaining. So you pick one or more of those and it takes you to the end. And that's about it. I think it's in the past, maybe we haven't really been clear enough about what an objection is. It's not just, oh, I think you could maybe do it differently. That's the kind of thing that you should go to the work group and work with them on. It's about actual harm being caused and about you thinking that, it's not safe to try this. So hopefully we'll get clearer objections, and that will then mean that if somebody has objected and they can't make it to the discussion meeting, we'll have a bit more information about exactly what they're objecting to. Zork is asking in the chat, I'd like to know if abstaining won't harm the work group or stop their budget for the next quarter. It won't, because we don't actually count abstentions as part, if it comes down to 80-20 and has the work group got enough to pass? It will only be on objections and consents. So abstaining is kind of opting out, really, I guess.
I think so too. And maybe this would be nice to touch on the quorum.
Yeah, I can't remember if I put anything about the quorum in the introduction to this form, did I? I don't think I did I? It's in the context setting doc, but it's not in the. Yeah, we should add that.
Yeah, can find it on the consent form. It's not there.
Right,
But it's
so we need to add a line about that. But yeah, it was decided that it's not fair for a work group to pass with, yes, it's got all consents, but there's only four of them or whatever. So we've decided that each work group, in order to pass, has to have, was it 17% or 17.5%? I think it's 17, yeah, of the total number of core contributors, which I think is 55, is it? 53. Okay, somebody with sharp mental arithmetic. That number of core contributors have to have given an opinion. They don't have to have, we don't have to have 17% approving you or consenting to you. We just have to have that many people giving an opinion at all, just to show that you're not just getting through on like two people going, yeah, right then. So that's what that's about.
Oh, right. Not sure if I should be showing something else on screen, but I think that kind of covers everything. Any questions in the room or in chat? Yeah, you answered. Zork in chat. Um, 9 sounds reasonable. Yes, I think that's accurate. All right, I think that does kind of conclude the agenda item then. Not seeing any questions. I do see praise in chat. That's always nice by Guillermo and Barnabas. Yeah, of course, if there's at any point during this consent iteration any questions, feel free to put them on Discord, as you know. All right. Technically, we are 2 minutes over the time slot. I wouldn't mind asking one more generic round of, are there any open topics we should be touching on? Any quick questions? Anything goes there really, before wrapping up for today. All right. No hands, no unmutes, nothing in chat. So then I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pete. Sorry for that. Yeah, I thought I was talking. It was on mute. And Vanny, the same. This is great stuff. Okay. The follow-up later.
Yeah, fully agreed. Thanks, Vanessa, for going through that. It's so fundamental to a lot of our decision making. That's always good to have a proper walkthrough. Cool. Thanks for being here and for sharing your time. And I do hope you will have a nice remainder of your Tuesday and hope to see you on the next one. Cheers.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye.